Hi, I'm Atib. I'm the Teen Innovation Group at the Connecticut Science Center. Today I'll be doing another crystal experiment with you guys, but instead of using any minerals, we'll be making our crystals out of metal. This here is bismuth. It's element number 83 on the periodic table, and it has a very low melting point of only 520 degrees Fahrenheit. That allows us to melt it on a stovetop or any hot plate. For this experiment, please not try this at home. There's molten metal that you're working with, and as you can see here, we have some very heavy-duty gloves. We have our nice lab coats, and we have eye protection to stop anything from splashing into our eyes. To begin, you would first set your heating source all the way up and put your pot of bismuth onto the top of the stove or hot plate. In order to make it heat faster, you can break it into smaller pieces, and that gives it more surface area so it can absorb heat faster. It should be fully melted in about 15 minutes to half an hour. And once it's fully melted, you will turn off the heat.
Bismuth is naturally silvery pink. The reason that bismuth is different colors is that bismuth reacts with the oxygen in the air, forming a thin layer of bismuth oxide on the surface. The oxide layer isn't perfectly even, and some spots are thinner or thicker. These variations cause the bismuth crystals to have a different color. In places where the bismuth oxide layer is thicker, the light is reflected is red. And in places where it is thinner, the light is blue. And in places where it is the thinnest, it is violet.
Once bismuth has sufficiently cooled down, if you can see here, it'll start to form small plates on the surface. Keep moving. We got to keep moving them around, or else the crystals, as they grow downwards, they'll stick to the bottom of the pot. So we have to keep gently shaking them back and forth. This seems done, so let's try to take some of them out. We have a small crystal sample right here.
What makes it turn these different colors?
Bismuth reacts with the oxygen in the air, which is a process called oxidation. So the parts where there's more oxide is where it's like a pink or something, and when there's a thinner layer of oxide is where it's blue. It's also similar to how bismuth is different colors.
Cool, thank you. Where do we see bismuth in our everyday life?
Bismuth is used in different alloys for its different properties. It's used in some stomach medications, but yeah, it's pretty common metal. It's also used as a substitute for lead because it's very similar into its density, but it's non-toxic, so it won't harm any wildlife.
Cool. What's the difference between a rock crystal and a metal crystal?
Both are actually very similar, and they grow in a very similar way. Just metal crystals, they need much higher temperatures to melt, which is why metal crystals aren't seen very often in nature. Most rocks, like quartz, they can melt and stuff at lower temperatures, which is why they're much more common than bismuth or any other type of crystals.
All right, that's all the questions we have today. Now back to our bismuth.
This is how our bismuth crystals look after it's cooled down.